Ki khubor ka Batesi TV ka umdi basnyam bat penjaslian. Rupa Premium Meghalaya.
Ka Jingïatai Ïing Dorbar Ïing ke Jilla Halor ke Jingshyrkhei Drok plane hadu Kynta tam bari yakani ka Drok Halor Drok lawan ra adu MLA ke Voice of the People Party na Nongrum uba Ardent Basaiawmoit. Hagani ke Jingïatai u MLA ke Nongrum uloong bakilat linti ki baga sarkar klashim ikuma kimler kam bagi jingwan ra ka sarkar da ka dream ru ikuma kampenduna namar baga jingdon ki nong di Drok kanang ki open ban. Ulakran ru halog jing kenno ki mi bagi pulet ru ki don ketilang bagi nong khayi Drok bagani kan bo jing ma bha ya ka jilla. Ki blay shimbenta hagan ga Jingïatai ki kinthop yo MLA ka not shillong uba Edelbert Nongrum u MLA ka mau kerwat uba Renikton Lyngdoh Tongkhar unoilam kaliang persya u Dr. Mukul Sangma u MLA ka mau hati uba Pius Marwein ka MLA jong ka Ambati ka Miani D Shira baru MLA ka Jirang uba Sosthenes Sohtun. Haba jubab ke jingkran jong ki dekat ke Ïing Dorbar, Menteri ke Tenat Social Welfare ba po Lyngdoh uloong baga sarkar kala shimbun ki lar lenti bani kun persya ya Drok dak pindan kam deki anjong ke NDPS Act bat ki PIT NDPS Act uloong baga sarkar kala tharu ya ke ANTF Police Station bakin tokit ya ki case ki biadai bat Drok nang tag la don kat artli ki ANTF District Unit ki bladon lagi jong ki SP bat shibun bat ki lar ki lenti bani kun persya ya Drok.
Mr. Chairman, sir, I beg to move this special motion that this House do now discuss the alarming increase of drug addicts and people with HIV in the state and its impact.
Motion moved. Now you may initiate the discussion.
Sir, I stand here today with a heavy heart to express my concern on this matter. And my heart bleeds to see many youths being destroyed by the narcotic drugs and psychotropic substances and the widespread of HIV and AIDS in the state. It seems that most of them are left to rot in a condition so pitiful, which I never dreamt that this kind of a situation will take place in my beloved state. So, I am here not to condemn anyone, not even the government for that matter. However, I will only put forward my submission and raise some pertinent questions. So, first of all, I would like to speak about the present approach of the government on this issue of drugs. Before I go deep into the issue, I would like to draw a comparison between the damage caused by narcotic drugs and psychotropic substances vis-a-vis the damage brought by militancy in the state and the approach adopted by the government towards these two problems. So, government has always maintained that militancy is a factor which was detrimental towards the growth and the development of the state. Militancy was viewed as a dangerous activism that can harm the state and the country as a whole. In a simple term, militancy was attributed as the main cause of creating serious law and order situation in the state and the main reason of misguiding the youth of the state from the mainstream to stand against the nation. It was therefore concluded that militancy ruined the lives of the people and brought misery to the society. Hence, the government was not taking any chance at all to go soft and dealt casually with militancy right from the beginning, sir. The state government decided that militancy should be crushed with an iron fist and determined to fight against militancy on a war footing, which has resulted in the neutralization of militancy in the state. And as a people of the state, we had witnessed the absence of serious militant activities. So, likewise, narcotic drugs and psychotropic substances are believed to be very dangerous and destructive. It has a direct bearing on human lives, the society, and the state. It brought miseries not only to the user, but to the entire family that has to undergo tremendous pressure of untold sufferings. The seriousness of the issue, sir, can be strongly felt by the number of the addicts in the state, as per the latest report, which has crossed over 3 lakhs. So it is also a threat to the tribal community, since large number of our youths are falling into the trap of addiction. So, however, the measure taken by the government and the manner it dealt with this problem was not equivalent. The government in 2023 had launched a mission known as the Drug Reduction, Elimination and Action Mission, DREAM, with an aim to transform Meghalaya into a free drug state. However, sir, the ever-increasing of drug addicts in the state with each passing year is an indicative of the fact that such exercise of the government was not enough and it was proven to be ineffective. So I would like to speak on the people's perception as far as the issue of drugs is concerned. It is being perceived by the general people of the state that the state government was not at all serious in combating the menace of drugs in the state. They are of the view that methods adopted by the government to fight against this menace, which has become a nightmare to each and every family in the state, especially Jingshyrkhei region, lack seriousness and determination, sir. There have been several complaints from the relatives of the addicts that though their children are willing to start a new life, the problem that they are facing is that they cannot afford to keep their children in the rehabilitation centers because the fees are too high for those, especially who are coming from the poor family. And also express concern on the lack of de-addiction center in the state. Therefore, the people deserve to know how much the government had spent so far under the DREAM mission to curb this problem. So, a story has it that the magnitude of drugs trafficking in the state would not have been made possible without the involvement of people in power. I wonder if that is true. How on earth that people in power allowed someone to earn hundreds of crores of rupees at the expense of many precious lives and the destruction of the young generation. I was also told, sir, from the very reliable sources that drugs business is more lucrative and more profitable and had even surpassed the illegal transaction of coal. Surprisingly, the transaction is stated to be over 1,000 crores a month. So this government has been seen as a government that promotes mafias and racketeers. So another issue and matter of concern, which has become the popular talk of the town, is the nexus between drug mafias and the police. It was alleged that the way police handled seized drugs and made it vanish into thin air with the complicity of authorities concerned and the failure of the government to disclose the data further led to a strong suspicion that connivance between drugs cartels and the officials is real. And this is what they call modus operandi. So the video surfaced in the media recently, where drugs users admitted the involvement of some police officers requires a proper and serious investigation. There is also an apprehension, sir, that if you cannot eliminate this threat, it could lead to the emergence of narco-terrorists in the state. So, as it is, people are not willing to come forward, as they don't want to unnecessarily get themselves entangled into legal procedures. True leniency of the law to deal with people involved in drugs and trafficking has further discouraged people to actively participate in the fights against the menace of drugs. As a result, and literally speaking, it can be safely said that transaction of narcotic drugs and psychotropic substances is taking place without any obstruction. So I want to come to the NDPS Act. So I fail to understand as to why people involved in drugs transaction and consumption cannot be kept behind a bar and give a jail term. I would also like to get a clarification from the government on the which provision of the narcotic, drugs and psychotropic substances which prevent the state from taking drastic action against violent drugs addicts, when the Act itself provides certain provisions as a punishment even to those who simply consume drugs that are considered to be narcotic and psychotropic substance. So Section 8 of the Act, under the Chapter 3, Prohibition, Control and Regulation. Section 8C, no person shall produce, manufacture, possess, sell, purchase, transport, warehouse, use, consume. And 8A, provision of certain activities relating to property derived from offense. No person conceal or disguise the true nature, source, location, disposition of any property knowing to such property is derived from the offense committed under this Act or under any corresponding law of any other country. Knowingly acquire, possess, or use any property which derived from an offense committed under this Act or under any corresponding law of any country. These provisions, I strongly felt, sir, can be applied in order to rein in these violent drug users. Section 27, it speaks about the punishment for consumption of any narcotic drugs or psychotropic substance. Whoever consume any narcotic drugs or psychotropic substance shall be punishable. Where the narcotic drug or psychotropic substance consumed is cocaine, morphine, or any other narcotic drugs or any psychotropic substance, as may be specified in this behalf by the central government by notification in the official gazette, with rigorous imprisonment for a term which may extend to 1 year, or with fine which may extend to 20,000 rupees, or with both. And B, where the narcotic drugs or psychotropic substance consumed is other than those specified in or under Clause A, with imprisonment for a term which may extend to 6 months. So we have certain provisions that deal with the punishment of drugs users in the state. So the failure of the government in this regard has emboldened the drug suppliers to openly challenge any group who opposes them. The government can have, I feel, its own law, since this subject falls under the current list of the 7th schedule. So the other day, I came across a media report that carried a statement made by one of the ministers in this government, in which he said, I quote, sir, "How can they blame the government if the children are taking drugs? Can parents be blamed? It is the personal choice of the youth as they know their responsibility well," unquote. I tend to agree with this statement in the context of the report on drugs, which stated that initial stage where people get into drugs in the state of Meghalaya is 10 years old. The minister is right. How can the government take the blame for a child of 10 years old? And definitely, it is not the job of the government, but rather the duty and responsibility of the concerned parents. However, sir, when the minister is giving a sweeping statement, the minister needs to be reminded that there are not bad people only in the state. However, there are many good people also in the state. Lately, we have seen the sudden turn of events in the state where these addicts are resorting to extreme measures to get any amount of cash to meet their requirements. They are trying to harm and create a fear psychosis among the people, and even attempted forcefully to jab the innocent people, especially the young ones and the vulnerable section of society. The question here is, how can we expect that children who have been taught about values and principle and who have really led a disciplined life well within the instruction and guidance of their parents would suffer because of these violent drug users? Therefore, sir, taking into consideration all these discourses that are taking place in the public domain, one cannot help but to ask how people in power can have a sound sleep when they witness that precious lives are destroyed right under the nose of the government. So a serious question is whether the government is seriously yearning to get rid of this problem. Perhaps we can give this government a benefit of doubt when we know that the problem we are facing is not a simple problem, even though it is not a problem that cannot be solved. However, sir, when we look at what is going on in the state, we can pretend to be content, but honestly speaking, we are compelled to doubt the sincerity of the government. So I would now come to somewhat suggestions to the government in its fight against this menace. So I know that this is not the right place to discuss all the strategies to deal with this problem, because we are dealing with people who certainly have connections with the high-ups and even political leaders. It is therefore not even possible to discuss this matter freely and openly in any meeting organized by the government. We know for the fact that we can't even trust the police department completely, as there may be black sheep in the organization. So I strongly feel that the government should change the approach and strategy if it really wanted to eradicate this problem completely. I think we need to realize that there are different categories with different characteristics of drug users in the state. And therefore we need to adopt different approach and method according to the types of drug users to ensure that our fight against this problem is becoming more effective. So we also need to study the causes that led to a large-scale increase of drug addicts in the state. We cannot rule out the fact that our deviation from our own culture and way of life as a tribal community had paved way for those who are in this trade to exploit the situation. We have to understand that people are not easily drawn into drugs in a normal situation. I am sure that those who are in this business are fully aware that they need to have a proper plan and effective device to promote their business. They will zero in on a soft target. For example, people who are in grief and distress, people who are always after easy money, people who are overindulged, people who are in the habit of experimenting life. They will also take advantage of the increasing unemployment problem in the state. I'm sure they must be ready to do anything in order to expand their business. They will not, sir, leave nothing to chance to ensure that they do not miss those targets. We should keep in mind, sir, that we are dealing with a group of people who are hell-bent to get things done because for them it is a business to earn big income. So the sad reality was that the state government was being played into their hands. The policy of the government to organize music festivals and the easiest way to get access to liquor in these festivals has only furthered the increase of drugs users in the state. This is not a baseless allegation, sir, but liquor bottles and syringes were found in venues where festivals were held from time to time. That is where the place where drug peddlers are very actively involved. So I would like to speak on another issue, and that is the widespread of HIV in the state. So as a community, we used to claim that we are the people who come to this earth to earn righteousness. We are the people that knows God and knows man as well. The community that lives well within the moral compass. However, the data on drugs and HIV shows otherwise. There is no doubt that in the past, moral standard of the indigenous tribal of the state was very high and well commended by the people from outside the state. So I felt that we must have the courage to call spade a spade and should really understand the current condition and prepare to face the reality no matter how hard it is. We should not continue to live in an illusion anymore. It is also imperative to challenge the changes that have taken place in our way of life with strong determination and resolve, in order to be able to restore back the lost glory of the tribal community and rise up to the occasion to rescue the state from the present disgraceful condition. So, without any iota of doubt, I must express that if we continue with the same procedure to contain the spread of HIV, we will not be able to attain desired result. We have seen how the Meghalaya AIDS Control Society, which is the key government organization leading the fight against HIV and AIDS in Meghalaya, worked for the last 27 years. And the stress seems to be on the promotion of using a condom or protected sex, avoiding using of syringes and few other steps which cannot draw the support and cooperation of the people. Another serious issue is the failure of the government to detect people with AIDS or HIV. So how can we fight against these diseases when we do not even know who are the people contracted with the disease? For instance, how can we prevent the spread of the disease when the wife is not aware that a husband is an HIV positive or vice versa? When we look at the number registered with the health department, as per media report, it was quite shocking, sir. These are the numbers of people registered. Only, if not willingly, but accidentally. Imagine if all are made to undergo the tests to detect the disease. I will not be surprised that the numbers will increase manifold. So it is really scary to learn from the data published by the National AIDS Control Organization, the status of Meghalaya as far as HIV and AIDS is concerned. According to the Sansalak 6th edition, published by NACO in 2024, Meghalaya's status in HIV and STI is 0.54%, 7th highest in India against the national average of 0.22%, and 3rd in the Northeast. It was reported that there are emerging pockets of HIV/AIDS indicate STI concerns in the state of Meghalaya. The contribution towards the HIV in Meghalaya, according to the report of the Sansalak, comes from the general population, which shows that the virus is in the community itself. The reason is because the virus is allowed to spread without detection. Moreover, sir, according to the 5th edition 2023, the Sansalak, Meghalaya ranked first in the prevalence of syphilis seropositivity or STIs, with 8.4%, to be followed by Mizoram by 1.something% only, sir. However, no mention was made in the 6th edition about this. Therefore, I feel that as a state, we need to know what is the current status as far as STI is concerned. So, how do we spread? How do we stop the spread of the disease when we are not in a position to know with whom we are in contact? Can we allow the disease to go silently without being noticed? I know that the argument will be, how can we compromise the dignity of people suffered with AIDS and HIV? No doubt it is a genuine concern, sir. I understand. So if we decide that the identity of the people suffered with the disease should be kept in confidential, then I don't know how we will be able to stop the spread of the disease. Even the law does not allow to disclose the identity of people living with HIV. However, sir, I feel that it would not be fair also if our concentration is too much about the dignity of a person contracted with the disease and forget about the safety of the innocent people. So it would not be wrong to say that there is a need to classify between people with HIV into two categories. That is the victim and the culprit. So what we learned from these problems was that we are facing a very peculiar situation where the wrongdoer, the criminals, gets protection, and the right and honest and innocent people have to live in fear. I, for one, would like to tell in a very categorical term, sir, that if I have to choose between protecting the right, the honest, and the innocent people, and the criminal, I would definitely choose to protect the right, the honest, and the innocent, because it is for that reason only that I've been called for, sir. It may be too hard to take a decision, sir, I understand. I strongly feel that if we really want to check the spread of the disease, the government shall have to strike a balance between the dignity of the victims and the safety of the innocent people. So we need to look at this problem from a wider perspective, sir, and adopt a holistic approach to eradicate this problem and achieve the intended goal of the government to make Meghalaya a drug-free state and reduce the number of people with HIV, sir. So to my mind, there is a misplaced priority in the campaign against the spread of the disease. We have to carefully evaluate the people's acceptance as far as the campaign is concerned. I strongly feel, sir, that the government needs to stress on positive campaign rather than negative campaign. I believe that positive campaign will yield positive result. We need to also keep in mind the mentality and the mindset of the tribal community. Therefore, sir, the priority of the campaign should be more on morality and ethical values. Instead of encouraging the people to have sex with the use of condom, to to prevent the spread of AIDS or HIV, it would be better to teach our children not to have sex before marriage. And this has to be the priority and the main stress in the campaign, sir. In the sideline, of course, we can also highlight the danger of careless engagement in any sexual activities that may lead into the danger of contracting HIV and AIDS. It may sound too idealistic for some people. However, I am of the firm belief, sir, that this kind of campaign will have a very good response, and the people will be more receptive to this kind of campaign. And in the long run, it will make the people to take marriage seriously with a sense of responsibility. We also need to explain and tell our children about the sanctity of marriage. I think we are all familiar with this verse in the scripture, which says that the wages of sin is death, or the outcome of sin is death. When we go deep into the problem of this problem, sir, that we are facing today, we have to admit that this is a curse that God has brought upon us. Therefore, we need to mend our ways as the community. For that there is no other better way than what it is written in the scriptures, sir, and the teaching, and that is, train up a child in the way he should go, and he will never depart from it, even when he is old. Moreover, it is also written that a youngster's heart is filled with foolishness, but physical discipline will drive it far away. Or foolishness is bound up in the heart of a child, but the rod of correction will drive it far away from him. Therefore, sir, it is necessary for us to understand the need to start teaching our children about good morals and values from a very young age. I am sure that none of us in this August house will teach our children or encourage them to have sex, protected sex before marriage. We may have committed mistakes in our lives, but I am sure we will never wish our children to commit the same mistake as we did, sir. I feel we need to introduce a course about marriage as an institution. As one of the syllabi in the educational institution, targeting the young minds by portraying a strong bond of family derived from a very good relation as a result of a good and strong foundational background, sir. So let us now resolve to build strong families by inculcating into the minds of our children the values, virtues, and positive character only. Remember that a nation without a character has no future, sir. I also strongly felt that young minds should not be allowed to be corrupted under any circumstances. So we may not see immediate result, but I assure this August House that the future of our state will be brighter and safer. With these submissions, sir, I wish you.
My subject, as I had stated, this House to now discuss the subject of the urgent need for a statewide anti-drugs emergency in view of the rampant and alarming rise in drugs trafficking, addiction, and threat to children and youth in Meghalaya. Sir, let me remind the House that this subject is a very common issue, and we are facing the subject as an affected, as it had been affected the whole state. So it is a call for each and everyone, a mass participation. It's not just by being satisfied, looking or satisfying, seeing by one section or from the police department or from the NGOs or from any section of the communities, but it is the mass participation. Therefore, sir, it will be more benefiting, sir, that this very subject, it will not be just a mere thinking, talking and bringing about development in the state, if at the same time our society, especially our youth, is being destroyed and consumed by numerous forms of evils, the most dangerous of which is drugs. What future does our state have if our youth are already lost? According to a report by the government presented 7 months ago in this August House, it was stated that there are over 3 lakhs individuals, mostly youth, who have used various kinds of intoxicating substances, and most likely this number has only increased since then. We can see that our state today is overwhelmed by news related only to drugs, whether it's on social media, in newspapers, or in public discussion. Crimes, immoral acts, and dangerous incidents are rising rapidly. Heinous activities are increasing every single day, to the point where parents are now afraid for the safety of their children. There is no longer peace or security in our communities. We fear the day might come when it will no longer be possible to control this menace, whether it's from those who consume and use drugs or from those who deal and traffic them. It may even reach a point where the government is left with no choice but to issue a shoot at sight order against such individual, like what had happened in Philippines in 2016-17, or to impose life imprisonment. Sir, our prison and shelters home are filled with young people and minors arrested for crimes, either directly or indirectly, connected to drugs use. Rehabilitation centers, the addiction facilities, and treatment centers are overflowing with people who wish to quit these harmful substances. Parents cry in despair, afraid of what might happen to their children, because everywhere they turn, there is only danger. Cases of HIV and hepatitis C are also on the rise, especially among those who use or inject drugs through the sharing of same needles or syringe. Let me repeat again. Cases of HIV and hepatitis C are also on the rise, especially among those who use or inject drugs through the sharing of same needles or syringe. What have we really done? Let us ask whether we have done correctly or righteously in performing our duties and responsibilities. Sir, we know that the drugs consumed and used by our children and youth are not produced within a state. They are brought in from other states and countries. We should immediately stop the inflow. The government should give a special focusing and concentrating to stop the supply. Once we could stop the supply, I believe the demand will subside and full of the dream will come true. We know that the drugs consumed and used by our children and youth are not produced within a state. This is the fact that no one can deny. We have seen that the police have been working tirelessly day and night to gather intelligence, conduct raids, and arrest those who traffic these illegal substances. However, it is disheartening and even insulting to see that the very people they work hard to arrest are released within just few days and then walk proudly in the streets. This discourages the police and make them lose morale and motivation in the work. So, yes, we see that there are awareness programs being conducted by various organizations and groups. Some are supported by the government, but many of them are self-funded. The question is, our awareness program alone is enough? Local NGOs who work tirelessly and courageously in fighting drugs and helping our fellow citizens who are trapped in addiction are struggling like a fight of a losing war. A fight as if between a lion and a mouse. Many of them receive no financial assistance from the government, central or state, and those who do report facing major difficulties like delays, irregularities in fund release, and bureaucratic procedures. What can we do? What things need to be done? So, it is time to strictly monitor all entry and exit points of the state by deploying modern technologies such as ion mobility spectrometry, IMS, devices, handheld narcotics analyzer, fiberscopes, X-ray scanners, GPS tracking tools, and deploying canine dog squads to check everyone entering the state, whether on foot or in vehicles, public, private, or even army and parliamentary vehicles, because there have been cases where even personnel from the armed forces have been involved in drugs trafficking. These checks must be conducted 24/7. So, if we can block the inflow of drugs into the state, it will force the addicts to seek help and treatment. Only then can we assist them through OST, oral substitution therapy, or other medical treatment. We saw how during the COVID-19 pandemic, the government helped many villages set up their own quarantine camp and center. Why can't the same be done in tackling this issue? So why doesn't the government encourage and assist villages in organizing communities detoxification programs where village authorities can call and encourage all drugs users to come forward and voluntarily attend detox camp? In these camps, the government can simply provide doctors, nurses, and essential medication needed for treatment as well as financial requirement. So, such detox programs must involve collaboration between the Dorbar, village council, police, communities, organization, faith-based group, and especially NGOs. Working with drugs user along with support from law enforcement and health department. It is also time for the government to establish task force at the district block and village level. These task force must include all stakeholders, focusing on both rehabilitation and prevention. So we have the NDPS Act, but is it sufficient in the context of a state? Do we need a specific state law, or at least an improved and stricter implementation of the Meghalaya Drugs Abuse Prevention Policy 2020? Perhaps if we had our own state level law, we could impose harsher punishment on dealers and peddlers, which would lightly reduce drugs trafficking. Addicts would also hesitate before becoming peddlers, themselves a common pattern, as many users eventually turn into sellers to fund their addiction. So it is also time for the government to establish government-run rehabilitation center in every district and to provide financial assistance to individuals or groups who want to open such centers. Currently, many families are forced to send their loved ones outside the state for treatment. We have seen how our youth are treated in these centers located outside Meghalaya, often in unfamiliar and unfriendly environments. So we also witness how a youth organization from one locality in Shillong stood up and threatened drugs users and peddlers. What drove them to take such extreme action? Is it the result of government failure and inaction? We fear this may spread to other localities where people may take the law into their own hands. And when that happens, law and order will collapse across the entire state. The world has already accepted that addiction is a disease, and a relapsing is high possibility. Therefore, we must understand that our fellow citizens who are addicted require specialized and long-term treatment, not just a one-time intervention. There must be regular follow-up, continuous support, and mental and emotional care until they fully regain their strength and stability. So, we also observe that many youths relapse even after rehabilitation. Why? Because they receive no support afterward. There are very few recreational activities, and most of them lack employment opportunities. As a result, they fall back into the trap of addiction. Hence, there must be sufficient recreational activities and especially vocational training so that they can stand on their own feet after recovery. I almost come to a conclusion. Lastly, topics like drugs abuse, early teenage pregnancy, and misuse of social media, mobile phones must be made mandatory, conducting offline and online classes. In all schools and colleges to spread awareness and protect our children and youth from these dangerous and harmful behaviors that arise from misuse. So before I conclude, let me put a clear remark, a clear message by this present government of the day. Let it be a clear message sending to our beloved state that this government will not spare, and there will be no zero tolerance even of small possession of small quantities. With these very few words, sir, I would like to submit my submission before you. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Sir, thank you so much for allowing me to participate on this very important special motion moved by Ardent Basaiawmoit, Honorable MLA from 22 Nongrum. Sir, we agree with the fact that we are all concerned, equally concerned, on the trap that our young boys and girls are falling to addict into drugs. And sad to note that this percentage is increasing, even though the government are putting all the effort to fight against drugs menace. Sir, I must appreciate the step taken by the government in fighting against drugs. Through DREAM mission, we have seen the government has extended fund to the organization who open rehab center and who deal with this fight against drugs. We know the government has given to the Dorbar and to some organization in the different districts. I'm very happy to share here. I have the opportunity last night to be with Honorable Chief Minister in one of the program, and Honorable Chief Minister, he spoke last night, that he will increase double the budget to fight against this drug menace. I'm very happy to inform the House that I'm very fortunate to hear by my own ears to the statement, to the commitment made by Honorable Chief Minister. We understand the seriousness of the government to fight against drug in the state of Meghalaya. But sir, even though we try, but we know for the fact that the smugglers, drug smugglers are still there, and they are trying their level best to increase their business. I agree with the point raised by all other members who have participated, that there was a supply change, and it is very, very important to stop this supply change of drugs. Sometimes I'm concerned listening to the awareness program that we had when I have the opportunity to listen myself. In the awareness program, instead of creating fear to the youngsters to involve into drugs, it is sometimes like encouraging and giving the awareness to them that they come to know about the goodness of involving into drug business. I am again sometimes to the speaker who spoke in front of the young people, like giving the awareness and telling the fact that how people become so rich overnight and become so rich in a very short time involving in this drugs business. Sir, I think this is the time that we have to educate even our people while giving awareness, that we should not talk about making rich by involving in drugs business. I think we also understand, as a matured person, we have to take the responsibility. How do we speak to our young people in the programs that we are having? It worries me so many times when I listen to the speech of the person who gives the lecture in the awareness program and telling in front of our young boys and girls that how people became so rich, and a small quantity of drug, it's involves crores of rupees, and if you do this kind of business, you will be rich. Sir, I think this is very, very important. As legislators and all the officers in the department involving in this fight, we have to be very careful while talking to our young people. I am concerned, sir, to see that some family, they are desperate so much, and sad to hear that there are some parents, they don't have any more hope for their own children, and they tell to people that we will let him drink, let him inject till he die. They don't want to fight anymore. Desperately, they said, we will give whatever he wants till he die. It's very sad to know that there are some parents who are facing such kind of problem to their own beloved children. Sir, my last submission on this very important fight that we all have to involve ourselves is that I know, even though the government, as I have told from before, that the government is trying its best to fight against drugs menace, against drugs supply, against drugs addiction, but we know it is very, very difficult for the government alone. Therefore, I appeal to the community. It is a high time that we all as a community should involve in this fight. As a community, and I request the government, if it is required to amend the law, we should amend the law to enable, to empower the Dorbar, to empower the headmen to involve themselves in this fight. We should all fight together. All the traditional bodies has to fight together. Health department has to fight together, and even the Dorbar has to have a place in it to fight together. Only then we can see hope that we will be one day a drug-free state, and we will give hope to the family, to our young people living in this beloved state of Meghalaya. Chairman, sir, I truly believe that if we all fight together, it is not too late. If we all involved in this, seriously, honestly. Sad to hear that there are people at the higher place, at the high place, involved in this as alleged. Chairman, sir, I think we should ensure ourselves, each one of us, that we should be free involving in this kind of business, and we should do all possible things to stop supply and to do not allow our young children, our young boys and girls, to fall under this drugs addiction. With these few words, I resume myself. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, sir, at the very outset, I would like to thank the honorable members who have jointly moved this very important motion. There are few things where I would like to stress upon. The mover of the motion and the co-mover of the motion and our honorable member from Maukarwat have already stressed on those areas of concern and the measures which can be considered by the government in order to deal with this challenge, a challenge which is not confined to the state, not confined to the nation, but is, of course, a global challenge. In respect of this issue of uncontrolled inflow of the drugs which is made available for the targeted youth, we have to see from the context of geopolitics as well. And if we look at the scale of these substances being smuggled and peddled through, they are all reflected. Only even in the case of Meghalaya, we were told, as was made available to us by the authorities concerned, that the total seizure of drugs in last 5 years amounted to 412 crores in value. Similarly, since 2021, in respect of Assam, the seizure of drugs are more than 2,000 crore. These are scales of the only quantum of drugs which were seized in terms of value. But when we look at the quantum of drugs which is somehow managing to reach the target, it's a matter of concern. There is already a late modus operandi, well-scripted modus operandi by the people who are involved in this illegality. In fact, it's a global concern. Now, why it is global concern is that all these substances, particularly the new trend is that people who are in this illicit trade are actually engaging in innovation. Innovation in respect of ensuring that if the targeted victims are once trapped, they cannot get out of it. They have tried to engage the experts in the field, people who are in the domain of this, with the knowledge in domain of pharmaceutical sector, and youth who have studied to become expert in their respective domains in pharmaceutical sector, Today they are being targeted. They are being targeted to be used as the people, like we have the best chef who will be, known for his innovation, the whole culinary innovations. Similarly, the same thing is happening in regard to the drugs. I was reading one article based on huge research which reflected that they have tried to ensure that anybody who has taken just one dose of these drugs is no longer able to stay without asking for the second dose and third dose, and so completely trapped. So it's an innovation that has taken place and still taking place. Therefore, the need to actually come with the right kind of stringent law is the need of the hour. We know the constraints. We know how many of these people who have been somehow arrested and subjected to prosecution got away because of the lacuna in the law. And they mingle around, and we don't know who they are. But one thing is important. In the absence of this stringent law which can enable the law enforcers to pin down on the offenders, the criminals, people who are engaged in this illicit trade. While we talk about the need to amend the act, there's another way of doing it. Any proceed of crime, anybody who is enriching himself through proceeds of crime is covered under Prevention of Money Laundering Act. Therefore, is it not necessary, therefore, to keep the track of people who seem to accumulate abnormally huge, which is disproportionate to their known source of income? And we know that once this particular approach is adopted, it will not be so difficult. We talk about easy money. Some people are demonstrating that they already have surplus quantum of money. Some people have accumulated enormous wealth through this illicit business. It is not confined to our state. Therefore, a corroborative strategy involving all the states to have a collective endeavor with the involvement of the states and government of India is required. We see our EDs raiding the houses of businessmen, coal traders. But what about people who are accumulating wealth by doing something else? We have a robust system now. With the whole digitalization, we are able to actually follow the trail of money, where the money is going, where the money is coming from. What is the problem in actually identifying, people who have accumulated enormous amount of money through this illicit trade? The lifestyle, the way of life, the accumulation of disproportionate wealth. These are the leads for the law enforcing agencies to connect the dots. Therefore, Mr. Chairman, sir, it is necessary. I think the government and all of us will look at this another way of taking advantage of the existence of this particular law. Because what does the law say? I will just refer to one part. Any individual, if has the ownership over an asset which is acquired from the proceeds of crime, then he will be liable to be prosecuted under the relevant sections of the Prevention of Money Laundering Act. Therefore, this proceeds of crime is not confined to only one crime. This proceeds of crime refers to money which is the proceeds of crime like terrorists, any anti-national activities by doing which they accumulate property as agents of the enemies of the nation. Also, any proceeds of crime. Any proceeds of crime by abusing the position and power, including any proceeds of crime by any individual, by any citizen. It is not confined to any one group of people. So therefore, the government can leverage upon this this act which is capable of reaching out to those, and there will be no place for hiding. I hope government will explore these possibilities. Then another part is that in view of the huge quantum of the drugs which has been seized over the years, now the section 52A of the NDPS Act 1985 requires that all these drug substances which have been seized, in order to ensure that they are not subjected to theft or otherwise disappearance or otherwise substitution or any other means of somehow allowing this quantum of seized drugs going into wrong hands, it must be disposed of, destroyed immediately. That is the law. That is the requirement of the law. And there has to be a committee. The relevant sections of these particular relevant subsections of this relevant section is very clear and self-explanatory. Therefore, it will be in the fitness of things for this august House to know from the government as to, in this regard, whether these provisions of this particular act have been adhered to and implemented. If so, the date. Because it is very clear. It is even clearer into how it should be done. How the committee has to be done, constituted, the chairman of which should be notified, and how the disposal should be done with the involvement of the other authorities under the Government of India, Joint Commissioner of Customs and Central Excise, Joint Director of DRI, or officers of equivalent rank. So whether this exercise has been done in order to destroy all the drugs which has been seized in last preceding years. This has to be made known to this August House in order to ensure that the authorities are doing what they should be doing in sync with the mandate of the law and requirement of the law. Then another important part which I would like to share is to look at the precursors, the ingredients which are required for all those deadly drugs of the present era. Methamphetamine. How is methamphetamine made? What are the precursors? All these areas of concern. Now, for example, if one pharmaceutical company is producing ephedrine or pseudoephedrine, which is the precursor of methamphetamine, how much is the pharmaceutical company producing? Must be put under scanner. Where is it going? There must be an appropriate trail and the end user. Now suppose I am a pharmacy retail shop owner. For how many lakhs of people I will be selling this ephedrine or pseudoephedrine preparation, which is a precursor for methamphetamine? If there is an abnormal absorption through the sale proceeds of those so-called pharmaceutical retail shops and whatever, even the consignment which is brought by the distributor, where is it going? The end user. Because it is meant for the patients, not to be used as a precursor for those substances. Therefore, there is a mechanism to track the perpetrators, if there is a will. Yes, we have been able to demonstrate the competence of our authorities. We have been able to, as a state, demonstrate the competence of our police organization in the past. When terrorist organizations were buying some arms from other states, everything in detail were known by our security agencies, and they knew where they were going, where they have reached, and they knew where to seize. So the robust system is available with the government. How we should utilize them and how we should leverage upon them, how we should augment that system, improve that system, courtesy, technology, artificial intelligence. So there are many ways. Today, the complete digitalization of the whole banking system is another way. So therefore, Mr. Chairman, sir, I think it's not a time when I can be too elaborate in this regard, but I have indicated that there are certain areas which should be examined in totality and have further exhaustive due diligence to know more about how these things are going and coming, how these precursors are coming from other countries and being, converted into this end user's product, and how they are infiltrating our international border and how it is reaching us. We have long border with Bangladesh, and now with the situation in the neighboring country, under the current situation, I think we have to be more alert. So also the Indo-Myanmar border. So also other borders. Because many of these precursors, if you go by the quantum of these precursors having been destroyed, including the labs where they're being produced by China as a crackdown on this drug cartel, it's amazing. I mean, it's astonishing figure, huge. Therefore, China is not far away. China is our neighboring country. So also Myanmar, so also Bangladesh, so also Thailand, and they will find their own way, because the cartel, the manner in which these cartels work, if you're looking at the quantum of seizure of the drugs and the value associated with it, each time when the drugs are seized, value at 4 crore, value at 10 crore, value at 30 crore, value at 50 crore, value at 100 crore, value at 1,000 crore. That means people with big money are playing. Nothing happens to them, even though huge consignments are seized, which has a very high astronomical value. They continue uninterrupted. That means there is a surplus, enormous circulation of money already in the cartel. That means the cartel has already established. That's the reason why we see that lots of pharmaceutical companies, they continue to produce ephedrine, pseudoephedrine, more than what is required in the nation. How many people are suffering from cold and cough? That one pharmacy will end up selling these products of ephedrine and pseudoephedrine for 1 lakh patients. These are leads. These are leads to go after them. The chain, break the chain and break the nest. This is what we did when we wanted to restore peace. We went to see where they were sleeping, where they have built their nest, where they're breeding. And that's how we restore peace. Similarly, in this case also, the geopolitical angle must also be seen, and Government of India must be aggressively engaged in this part, because Northeast is more vulnerable. Look at what's happened in Punjab. With heavy heart, I think every parents are speaking about this. And therefore, we have already crossed a limit. In fact, we should have been able to do something earlier, but something has gone wrong. The so-called porous international border is not acceptable to us. It is not acceptable to us. It is not the responsibility of the state to seal the border. It is the responsibility of the Government of India. Therefore, under the present circumstances, they must aggressively engage with Government of India collectively, not just Meghalaya, Manipur, Mizoram, Nagaland. We spend lots of time to build party, but this is another crucial area where we should engage. It is not possible for Meghalaya alone to fight this battle. Let us be honest and blunt. We know how the drugs are reaching Tura. We know how the drugs are reaching Ampati. Who were the peddlers? Peddlers were from Assam. And today, unfortunately, our honorable member from Fulbari, the Honorable Minister of Power, will be seized with this problem in the plain belt. Huge problem. We never expected that problem of this scale in respect of substance abuse will take place in that part of the country, because that is both Meghalaya and Assam. More in Assam. Therefore, this collective resolve of the states is a must. Therefore, how we give effect to this intent, we have to take Government of India into the loop. I'm sure they will be forthcoming in doing so. So, rest, we know number of initiatives are being taken by the government, but that is not going to be enough unless this collective resolve is taken care of, unless the international borders are still in the right earnest, and unless people with these proceeds of crime are put on the scanner and the whole law of the land is activated to go after them. That will create the kind of deterrence. Because what Honorable Member from Mukul was saying is very alarming and scary. That people tend to think that, okay, by doing this, I can become rich overnight. Shortcut. Temptation. The greed. The helplessness, the hopelessness from other other road may be so difficult, uphill. They will look at some of them. Just one or two are enough to destroy. So therefore, the cartels will find easy partners, soft targets to recruit them as their partners. If 10 years old, 12 years old, the young ones are already being targeted, we know then what is their modus operandi. We already understand how dangerous they can be. And it's very painful to see families. When everybody is well, there are plenty of works. But when one member in the family is a victim of substance abuse, they have no other work except to focus on that particular effect. Yes, this is what is happening. I have seen it, I'm seeing it. We are all seeing it. So I think we must all come together. We should all come together. All the states must come together, and Government of India. And then Act must be amended. This Act must be designed in such a way that all those units of manufacture of the precursors ka precursors bhi hai, all these things. So while we are looking at the licensing procedure, it is indicative of the intent, the quantum, the scales, and therefore it's a global issue though, but then charity begins at home. We must start doing something more effective. Given the challenges, I think we can overcome if we all come together, and if we also, like what the mover of the motion has also said, the community role, the morality, the hesitation to look at the shortcut to become rich, these are important. Because they know that they may be rich, but they will be in prison one day. That is the deterrence. Therefore, PMLA. Well, people may not like it, but then I say that this is one of the strongest weapons, the strongest legal weapon available before the country, before the state, before all of us. Then on the issue of this increasing number of people living with HIV, it's a matter of concern. We have seen what the government is doing, but much more things are required to be done. How the people living with HIV and the stigma attached to it can be addressed is going to help us in many ways. though there may be other school of thought, but then it has been well understood that unless the people who are infected are living with the virus, they are honest to share and don't hide, then we know what to do. Therefore, the stigma attached to these people living with the virus is the issue of concern. This is because of the way we look at them. Number of programs, but I think much more aggressive program has to be there to achieve this objective, which is already formatted exhaustively. Many experienced people who are dealing with this, fighting with this, have already worked out and then formatted the whole protocols as to how to deal with. And as challenges confront us, I think as we evolve, based on our learning experiences of the past, we'll be again equipped with more ideas and knowledges, and we will know what new challenges confront us, and we will find a way how to overcome them. So I leave it to the collective wisdom of all of us. Let it not be confined to only the department concerned. We can see now this particular topic when we are discussing. Which minister will reply, I don't know, because it involves so many. Therefore, that collective, that convergence of thoughts, that is very crucial. And then the onus of responsibility of making it happen is upon the government, and then we look forward to see that effective measures are put in place to somehow face these challenges and see how we can insulate our state, our region, and our country from this very formidable challenge, which is actually a global challenge too. But then as a state, when we start, I think the model of our measures that we take can always be seen. If it is the best, then it is replicated. What is best done by somebody, showcased by somebody, we can always emulate them if they're the best. So with these few words, Mr. Chairman, sir, I resume myself.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, sir, for allowing me to participate on this motion brought by the honorable member from Nongrum constituency. When we talk about the drug menace, it is an issue we are all familiar with. We have seen its impact on social media. We have heard about from various organizations, and even the church continues to raise concern about it. It has affected our society deeply, socially, morally, and spiritually. As one of the members of this august house, before I continue my speech, Mr. Chairman, sir, I have to ask myself, what I have done on this very serious issue. This motion I take as a challenge to all of us as the member of this august house, whether we have done something or not. As the member who representing our state. Mr. Chairman, sir, I'm standing here not to repeat what has already been said by my fellow honorable members. Instead, I rise to offer few concrete suggestions which I believe could help us to tackle this growing crisis. Suggestion number one, sir. I would like to suggest a government formation of a state-level special committee on drug menace. Let the government consider setting up a special committee at the state level dedicated to addressing the drug menace. This committee should include representatives from the police department, health department, education department, NGOs, and also faith-based organizations. Another suggestion, sir, I would like to suggest to our government to form a committee at the CNRD block level. I suggest that a committee be formed in each and every CNRD block to be headed by the BDOs. This committee will help monitoring and coordinate anti-drug activities at the grassroots level. Suggestion number 3, sir. The formation of village level committee. Each BDO should take the initiative to form a committee in every village, both in urban and rural areas. These committees should include local leaders, youth representatives, and also the member of the church, the local church, of other religious institutions, so that the community takes ownership of the problems. Suggestion number 4, sir. I would like to suggest that our government should establish more counseling centers. This is a dire need to set up more counseling centers in every district. These centers will offer support and rehabilitation services to drug users and will play a key role in prevention and recovery. Mr. Speaker, sir, in conclusion, I will not take much time. Drug abuse is not just a personal issue. It is a community issue, a society issue, and a moral issue. Therefore, sir, our fight against drugs must be united, inclusive, and continuous. I once again urge the government to consider this suggestion with sincerity and urgency. With these few words, Mr. Speaker, sir, once again, thank you so much. And with these few words, I resume my seat. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I also rise to participate in this special motion brought by Honourable Member from Nongrum. This House do now discuss the alarming increase of drug addicts and people with HIV in the state and its impact. Mr. Speaker, sir, I doubt that there is anyone here today who does not know personally somebody who is struggling with addiction. I think it is so alarming and it is so rampant now. It is so common. It's such a common thing now that sometimes we feel like it's not a problem anymore because it's so common. Now our state's total population is approximately 30 lakhs, whereas we can see that the numbers of addicts are approximately 3 lakhs. That means almost 10% of our population is addicted to some kind of substance. If these numbers are not alarming enough, I don't know what is. I think every one of us should be worried, should be scared. I, as a mother, I am worried for the future generation. I am worried for my state, I am worried for my people. Now, even in rural areas, where substance abuse, drug abuse was never heard of, now it is being so common. It is a common phenomenon. So, unfortunately for people who are living in the rural areas, most of the interventions, de-addiction centers, are mostly concentrated in the urban areas, sir. So therefore, through you, I would like to request, I have also put up one question regarding de-addiction and rehabilitation centers. It is of urgent requirement, urgent need, that every district headquarter has this de-addiction and rehabilitation centers. And also, specifically, I would like to mention that for women, there's hardly, any seats available, any specific centers available. So, something specific for women also is required. Now, before me, a lot of members have spoken at length about the different problems related to drugs and the spread of HIV in the state. Therefore, I would not go more into details, and since Mrs. Speaker, sir, you have requested me to be brief, I will try to make my submission very brief. Now, coming to the spread of HIV, sir, I think we see that this is the other side of the same coin of drug abuse that is happening in the state. I think the increase in the drug abuse and the increase in the HIV positive rates in the state have increased rapidly almost at the same time in the state. If we can, look at the past 5 to 6 years, we can see that within this time period, a rapid growth in the drug abuse and the numbers in the HIV positive rate has gone up. So we can see that it is a part of the same coin. But also one of the main factors, I feel, the increase in HIV positive is because of open and increased prostitution. I have lived my whole life, not my whole life, but maybe almost 30 years of my life in Shillong, but I have never seen anything like this. If I go to Police Bazaar, if I pass by SP office, if I pass by Governor's house from the back road, I have never seen anything like it. Unfortunately, I'm a woman standing here and talking about this. It is an unfortunate situation in the state capital, sir. Today, I think there is something lacking in the police force, or I don't know, in the morality within our society, or what is lacking today in the state, I don't know, sir. But my humble submission is that we have a robust system available with the government, and the police needs to act immediately.
3 p.m. In exercise of the Rule 11 of the Rules of Procedure and Conduct, I will further extend the sitting of the House till this special motion is disposed of. You may continue, please.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir. The Meghalaya Police, I'm sure, is equipped to deal with all these issues, maybe not fully, but whatever is in their capacity, they need to act. Sir, most of the recommendations have been given by the honorable members who have spoken before me, so therefore I will not dwell on it. I will just request one thing from the government of the day, that we take this matter urgently and bring on board all of the NGOs, the church bodies, other religious bodies, and everyone of the civil society who are concerned about this issue, and create a platform to deal with these problems. Sir, I think for the HIV positives, one recommendation I would like to give as well is that availability of testing centers, sir. I think in every, not just in district headquarters, if possible in all the PHCs, if they can do the tests, because this is spreading because some of them don't even know that they have the disease. They don't even know because they feel the shame to go and get tested. So therefore, sir, if they can get tested, then we would protect wives and children who are unaware of the disease being spread within their own homes. Therefore, sir, and once they get tested, if they are positive, immediately they need to be given some kind of counseling, because only then they will feel the responsibility towards not spreading the disease. And I think from information from the medical department on inquiry, I was told that medications are not easily available as well. So in the hotspots of where our people have increased positivity rates, I think there needs to be easy accessibility for medication as well. So, sir, with these few words, I would like to resume my seat. Thank you.
Honorable Speaker, sir, for allowing me to take part in the special motion raised by Ardent Basaiawmoit that this House do now discuss the alarming increase of drugs addicts and people with HIV in the state and its impact. I'll be very, very short, sir. So, first of all, I would like to thank the government for the different initiatives, the steps taken in eradicating drugs and the drugs peddlers and drugs smugglers. And we have seen that many different initiatives taken by the government, through the department, the police department, and the health department, and many different committees as well, to create more awareness about the alarming drugs and the danger of drugs that will come about. So, even though after many restrictions that we have seen the government has taken, and the police department especially, they are very busy in tackling the drugs smugglers and drug users. So we have seen that many of the complaints that coming out to to us as public representative that many theft taking place in different areas due to drug users. And I myself, as the local MLA representing the border areas, we have noticed that many of the areas that is the danger point, as to say, because sir asked to inform to this August House, many of the family members, they are very much concerned of their own children, especially those who have already addicted to drugs. And to state here in the August House, and I was informed by many people also, that Boniat area, after crossing the bridge, you will see one junction where many people, they will say that this is the pickup point. Even though initiatives have been taken by the police department, and still drug users and smugglers still exist in that area. So what I feel, sir, that in those certain areas, maybe CCTV camera to be installed, or creating the other force, like the special task force, which will include the village Dorbars, some of the youth, the NGOs or women's group, in helping the government or in helping the department concerned to wipe out all the people whom that the department has full suspect of it. So joint efforts from the government, village Dorbars, the women's group, the youth, what I feel it will help in eradicating drugs. And as we are in the border areas, so I would like to request the government that the joint border efforts with the Assam counterpart, this will be very helpful because drug smugglers and drug users, we are seen in both sides. So it's the need of the hour for the department to take it as a very serious note, together in collaborating with all these stakeholders, we have to jointly take this issue as a very serious threat. Because we don't want each of our family members to get involved or to get trapped into the drug users or any illegal activities or these smuggling of drugs. So with just only these few words, sir, I would once again like to thank you, sir, for allowing me to take part in this special motion. And I hope that with the joint efforts that the department, the government, and all these stakeholders we'll see that Meghalaya, our state, will be a drug-free state. Only these few words, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, sir, at the outset, I take this opportunity to thank both the movers of the two motions, which are of a similar nature, the Honorable Member from Nongrum, Ardent Basaiawmoit, and the Honorable Member from North Shillong, Adelbert Nongrum, for having drawn the attention of this august House to a grave and alarming situation. I also thank numerous legislators who took part in the discussions, the Honorable Member from Maukarwan, Mauhati, the Leader of the Opposition, Honorable Member from Ampati, as well as the Honorable Member from Jirang constituency. I'm sure that we all share the grave concern at the emerging situation. But I also would like to share the glimmer of hope which the Honorable LO made when he referred to the famous song, "We Shall Overcome," which galvanized an entire society to fight against apartheid in the past. I shall also allude, taking a cue from that song, I shall allude to the lines of the famous writer who, Alexander Pope, spoke of these famous lines, quote, "Hope springs eternal in the human breast," unquote. So, substance use disorders and the cumulative effects that it has had and is having on our social fabric is known to all of us. We are all concerned, not just as leaders of the state, but also as parents, as guardians, as uncles, as aunts, and as members of a society that is struggling to make its presence felt globally. I'm happy that at least the LO made a very clear-cut distinction when he spoke of the problem of drug addiction and its spread as a menace, as just not a regional or a state matter, not even as a national crisis, but a global phenomenon and a global problem. We live in an increasingly globalized world, and for a state and a region that shares 98% of its borders with other countries, more especially the fact that we are very close to the Golden Triangle of Myanmar has made Meghalaya especially vulnerable to the problem of drug addiction and the spread of drug trafficking. Sir, time may not permit me to spell out all the initiatives that the government has taken. But I'd like to make a pointed reference to the fact that there were several initiatives that have been taken by the current government for the first time ever. For instance, we have a national act apart from the NDPS 1985. We also have the PITS NDPS legislated and passed by Parliament in 1988. The state government is applying both these acts with a major difference that PITS NDPS also allows our law enforcing agencies to detain repeated offenders, drug traffickers, for a period of not less than a year. And it is after 25 years since PITS NDPS was passed by Parliament in 1988 that the government of Meghalaya has invoked provisions of this act and applied it in Meghalaya. Today, as we speak, there are 5 repeated offenders who are serving detention under jails in the state of Meghalaya. I'd like to make a pointed reference to the act that the LO has referred to, the Prevention of Money Laundering Act, and to specifically point out that such a provision is also contained in PITS NDPS. Prevention of Illicit Traffic in Narcotics and Psychotropic Substances Act, which facilitates for the attachment of the property of the detainee, the property of the next of kin, the immediate family of the accused person, and the freezing of bank account of not just the arrested person, but also his or her immediate family. As we speak, there are already 5 such detentions that have taken place, and more are being pursued, because in order for the arms of the law to finally be able to ensure their detention, we also need the approval of a board headed by a retired judge. It is also for the first time that the state has a mission that encompasses various departments. And under the DREAM mission, headed by the Honorable Chief Minister, the Department of Health, Social Welfare, Home Police, Education, Law are all integrated. And under this mission mode, we have successfully reached out at various levels and strata of administration, including right down to the block level. As recently as last year, to enhance the monitoring and enforcement of the NDPS Act, the state government has sanctioned the post of an SP of the Anti-Narcotic Task Force, as notified on the 4th of July 2024. Furthermore, a dedicated ANTF police station has been created and inaugurated this year itself to allow it to investigate all offences under the NDPS Act 1985 and also the PITS NDPS 1988, and to support district-level enforcement. In addition, 12 district ANTF units have been established under the supervision of the respective SPs to ensure localized action against trafficking. During the last 5 years, the police have registered 603 NDPS cases, arrested 1,069 accused persons, and seized large quantities of contraband. The police department has also prioritized the timely disposal of seized drugs, a point made again by the LO. On the 23rd of January 2025, narcotics from 56 cases were destroyed at the Star Cement incinerator, Lomshnong, including heroin, cannabis, crystal meth, and cough syrups. Close coordination is being maintained with the BSF, Customs, NCB, IB, and State Excise, leading to several joint operations along the interstate and the international border. In fact, as early as last month, a meeting was held where Meghalaya made a fervent plea for allowing the setting up of a branch of the NCB in Shillong. Efficient and effective investigation of cases have ensured that more arrests are being made. And today, areas which have never been covered in the past, for instance, the cantonment land, areas under the cantonment board, Lyngdoh, where the ANTF has not reached, has not shown its presence in the past, we are showing our presence today. Just this Saturday, I was at Lyngdoh to inaugurate a counseling center with the partnership of faith leaders. We are doing a lot, but I also concede that the biggest room in this world is the room for improvement. The state is also a pioneer in providing treatment for users, drug users of different ages and genders. We have 12 existing rehab centers, either funded by the center, the state government, or privately owned. We have one integrated rehabilitation center for addicts run by the KGPA New Hope De-Addiction Center at Maudiangdiang and supported by the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, Government of India, which was pursued by the state government. We have 7 institutions fully supported by the state government and 4 privately owned. The ministry has also helped set up an addiction treatment facility at Tura Civil Hospital, and we have one outreach and drop-in center at Shillong managed by Kripa Foundation. In addition to the above, during 2025-26, we have also managed to get the approval of the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment for the creation of a district de-addiction center at West Jingshyrkhei Hills to be managed by the Meet Mintu community Social Welfare Association. Besides the above, the ministry has also taken keen interest to set up addiction treatment facilities in the gap districts where there are no de-addiction centers. Proposals for establishing additional ATFs through the Health Department have been submitted to the ministry, and these include Civil Hospital Shillong, Memhans Shillong, Jowai Civil Hospital, Bakmara Civil Hospital, William Nagar Civil Hospital. That apart, we also have the addiction center in prison settings, and the districts identified for setting up of these centers at prison settings are West Garo Hills, West Jingshyrkhei Hills, and Ribhoi district. In addition to this, 62 NGOs have been given grant and aid from the state for carrying out activities under the anti-drugs campaign, reaching out to more than 15,639 individuals. At the state level, the DREAM project, we ensure that we collaborate between the various departments I have mentioned, and also the Meghalaya AIDS Control Society is actively engaged in creating awareness on various topics of drugs, HIV/AIDS, and these programs are being organized across the state. We have also provided financial aid to Life Care Foundation Rehab and Counseling Center, Sokhlam Maukarwat, for the management of the rehab center. We have signed an MOU with the Society for the Promotion of Youth and Masses, SPYM, for training of teachers as master trainers under the Navchana module to be implemented by the Education Department. Besides these, we have organized programs where there were testimonies by recovered addicts, a pledge-taking ceremony led by the CM, cycle rallies, football and basketball matches, IEC stalls, all of which witnessed more than 600 participants. Mr. Speaker, sir, I'd like to highlight central initiatives in combating drug abuse. The Nasha Muk Bharat campaign, launched on 15 August 2020, has made a lot of headway. The campaign has reached to 30,420 youths, 12,233 women, and 1,226 educational institutions. Social mobilization has been a key factor in our fight against the menace. We have been able to bring together different faith leaders on the 20th of February 2025. As far as the Dorbars are concerned, I have made this appeal in the recent past. I would like to reiterate this on the floor of this August House, that instead of encouraging mindless activism, there is a way for civil society to work together with the government, and that is through the VDP, the Village Defense Parties, which, as of date, in Shillong, there are 11 functional VDPs. Last week, there were two organizations which had met me, one from the Dorbar of Upper Mopram Nong Sopo, and the other from the VDP of Nongstun, which I will personally visit at the close of this session. A joint inspection was held with the Cantonment Board, State Police and the Dorbar Shnongs on the 21st of March 2025, and this has led to our identification of sites for installation of CCTV cameras and the removal of scrapped vehicles at Lom Survey and Tembujoy, which have become hotspots for drug-related activities. As far as these activities are concerned in areas where various honorable members have spoken, I would request them to share details with me so that we can further enhance the activities under the DREAM mission. So when it comes to the issue of HIV/AIDS, we know that there are multiple reasons for the increase in these cases. One, of course, is the fact that there is now improved detection and testing. We have expanded the testing centers to 5 centers and 24 link ART centers. As early as July, 8th of July 2025, a meeting was taken at the level of the Honorable Deputy CM in charge home, attended by Honorable Ministers of Health, Social Welfare, and we have also invited all the elected representatives from East Khasi Hills district. I would like to specifically mention the presence of Adelbert Nongrum in that meeting, and I would like to seek the physical presence of the mover of the motion and honorable member from Mauringkaneng constituencies, where this problem has also become very pronounced. So I hope that this comprehensive overview has managed to illustrate how serious, how concerned we are with the matter. I have made it a point to get daily inputs from the SP, ANTF. I'm happy to say that in a matter of barely 10 days, narcotics worth of 4 crores were seized from Jingshyrkhei Hills and 1 crore from Shillong just day before yesterday. 5 crores in a matter of 10 days. This shows that we are going tongs and hammer. We are relentlessly pursuing the fight to contain, control, and I'm confident we will be also able to fully eradicate the menace. So once again, sir, I thank all the members for their valuable inputs. I would, however, implore that engaging on the floor of this House should not be the only platform. Time and again, we will need them to come up with the valuable inputs, information, and also This is not us versus them. This is the state of Meghalaya, the people of Meghalaya, fighting in unison against a menace that threatens to make us victims. But the choice is ours. I would implore that rather than succumbing to the temptation of admitting defeat, let us be victors and never, never victims. Thank you.
Now, I give time to the mover of this motion to seek any clarification. You wish to seek any clarification?
Seeks any clarification. May only one clarification in view of this very important aspect of response from the side of the government. In relation to the responsibility vested upon subsection 1 of the section 52A of the NDPS Act 1985, the Honorable Minister has already indicated that an action to this regard has been done. But here, the clarity which I would like to have for the purpose of enlightenment of this August House is the total inventory which was available with the authorities concerned for last preceding dates of seize, and then the total inventory, whether the total inventory which was available with the authorities concerned have been already destroyed as per the requirement of this law, total, or there are some more recently seized items. That will be important.
Yes, sir. As and when we obtain due permission from the High Court of Meghalaya, we organize programs where at the indicated site for incineration, the seized drugs have been incinerated and destroyed.
Speaker, sir, may I request Honorable Minister in that regard to make it public before the particular action is done, so that at least there will be some representatives from the civil society who can be there, and then it becomes, a kind of a narrative for the whole society as a whole, to instill the kind of confidence and minimize any chances of doubt.
So in the latest instance which I have mentioned, the incineration of seized drugs that took place on the 23rd of January 2025 was done in the presence of village head, the SP of the district, as well as a representative from the Meghalaya High Court. And these were then captured and also shared in the media.